See what we got here, y'all. All right, guys, welcome back to another update. Thank you guys for tuning in. We are back looking at this war that is taking place over here. And let's see between the major coalitions in the game. Let's see what the scores are. Oh, the Axis power has went down a little bit. The Vikings have went up. I've even went down a bit. So we got Vikings of Valhalla making a run. They're trying to increase their lead. Let's see what's happening in this war. Okay, so I see the strategy that Melbourne and Darwin is using. They're playing a very methodical style of play, while Jillen, on the other hand, is more of a brute force. Now, I will say, just from my observation, this can be very tricky. Now let me do some critiquing at this stage. I was trying to stay away from critiquing too much, but at this stage in the game, I will critique. I will absolutely critique. So let's look at this, and I'm going to critique on both ends. As far as I'm concerned, okay. So as far as I'm concerned, I will admit, while I have to give credit where it's due, Melbourne and Darwin's primary form of attack, and they're really not attacking anything, like they're not going after this big stack right here. What they're doing is they're picking apart one by one these guys in different areas with their airplanes, which is not a bad strategy. So I'm going to give advice to both teams from what I see and from my perspective. Let me start with Jillen. What would I do in this situation if I was Jillen? For one, Jillen, I would understand that, number one, I have still some support here from Madras. So I could use that to my advantage by maybe being able to flank. And sometimes, guys, it's not always about who strikes first or who looks like they're winning. Because you can look like you're winning something, but really you're actually getting ready to start going down. So one of the key components of this game is patience. A lot of times you want to see somebody do this, do this, do that, do that, do that, do that. No, it's about patience. Those who are patient tend to end up winning in the long run. You may win the battle, but you won't win the war. So right here, what I'm looking at is I would not have at this stage I would just keep these guys moving forward, because you're causing these airplanes to get weakened. Now don't get me wrong, it's going to take a lot of troops to take down these airplanes. But I think with this kind of stack, you could have got rid of both of these guys while building up an air force. Because that's a mistake, guys. If you don't have any air support, you find yourself in this kind of situation right here. So what I would do is I would continue to move forward with these guys. And then I would use, because you have 300 tanks, fast cars, I would rip these guys through. And if you study my splitting technique, it would help you deal with somebody who has all these bombers and fighters. The splitting technique is something you have to go to one of my older videos, and it'll show you what that is. Where you split you do a splitting technique where you don't just lose all your troops to these airplanes, and you make the airplanes really become null and void unless that person is on the game 24/7. You can dodge a lot of those attacks by these airplanes, but you will have to go to some of my older videos and see how I do that. So let's go into the newspaper, because that's what prompted me to do this update, because I read some information in the papers. So let's see what these guys think about their war, and then I'll give you more insight as to what I think both coalitions are doing and who's winning, and this, that, and the third. So we already talked about him threatening. Does anyone have a red clown? We still don't believe anything you say. Okay. It says, run, run, Jillian, with your tail between your legs, big mouth. Not bad ratio, my friend, for being an experienced player. Literally, you said, I will kick your ass in Asia soon. In your dreams. Casualties since the beginning of the war. Darwin 8, Jillian 219,000. Casualties since the beginning of the war. Melbourne none, Jillian 54,000. I will say that is significant, but that's really, like I said, that doesn't tell the whole story just yet. So I won't go off of that too much. But it shows that Darwin and Melbourne definitely have tactical skills in battle. These are the kind of players you're not going to beat them by just having a bunch of troops and spending a bunch of gold trying to rush in. You will have to use some strategy against a team like Melbourne and Darwin. I don't know, man. Considering I produce 700,000 troops a day, it doesn't matter. Now, that's true. Jillian has a great point. He is producing so many troops that they become expendable. He has suicide bombers, basically, that he can, at his disposal. Yes, he could very well lose those troops, and that really doesn't mean much. Versus Melbourne and Darwin, because they're not necessarily on their homeland. They may want to really conserve their troops a little more. The fact I don't have to attack y'all to win is wild. So since you so cocky because of one victory, I'll go defensive and you won't take nothing. Now I'm shocked that Jillian would take that approach, because that's a very smart approach. That's a very smart approach. Sometimes it's okay to go offensive and test the waters. But if you see you have an opponent who is they're like a counter puncher, and they're countering what you're doing, then yes, it may be a good idea to step back and humble yourself and say, let me play a little bit more of a defensive game, which is true. And he does have the numbers, Jillian, to hold off and have a little. That's what I meant by patience. By using I would use way more patience than what I've seen thus far with Jillian. Because I would allow my troops to form a wall, but I wouldn't wait too long, because as you wait, you end up dealing with Mr. Arrowhead coming in from the north. And so it's important for Hamar to start getting in action, to start helping Jillian acquire some of this province. Otherwise, it's going to be a major front here that Jillian has to deal with. So that's what I'm looking at with that. But let's go back to the newspaper for a second. Let's see what else was being said. The fact that I don't have to attack y'all to win is wild. Remember, y'all, 903 points to 778. Stay humble, gang. That is true. Jillian is still in first place, and Jillian Coalition is still in first place. That is a fact. Jillian, the humble man. If you will use these 700 units a day the same you use the ones you lose, amazing. I know, right? Amazing. Don't worry, my mistakes won't repeat itself. Like I said, come get some. And that's okay. See that? Now that's a dangerous player. That's a dangerous player. Any player that can stop and change course and say, okay, maybe this don't work, but okay, I'll go this way with it. That's a good player, and that's a dangerous player. I like players who don't change. They just go keep doing the same thing, and I'm like, all right, great. So you admit that I will kick your ass in Asia's strategic movement as a mistake. Not bad, my friend. Stay humble. That's the way. You talk too much propaganda. As far as I'm concerned, I have beaten you all. Too scared to go offensive. It makes sense because y'all know y'all can't. Because of that, I'll just sit back and relax from now on. Beaten is a huge word, propaganda man. The run who run inside our trap was you, like an inexperienced gerbil, and now run away when the funny part starts. Then let's take a sit and start to count your, I think he meant casualties over there. Have fun. The German army would now produce 30 fighters every 2 days. That I would not have said. Keep that to yourself, Jillian. If you're going to do it, just do that and send them. But don't tell them that that's what you're going to do. That's not a good strategy. Look, guys, I fell to 4th place. You got Jillian, Arrowhead, and Melbourne has crept up, and now I'm in 4th place, and Darwin is in 5th. So, hey, man, I'm just here to give you guys the news, man. I'm here to give the news as it happens, okay? So that's what's going on with this war, guys. These guys are going at it a little bit. We're going to see if Jillian's approach to re-strategizing his defensive strategies, let's see how that plays out. And again, I think that's a good idea on Jillian's part, and I think that Melbourne and Darwin, yes, this is a very effective strategy they're using with these airplanes. Only way you're going to really stop it is several ways. You will either have to attack the base that they're coming from, which is right here, which would be another way to get at these airplanes. That's one thing I would be attacking. I wouldn't be worried about where they're flying. He's way over here. I would try to send a bunch of cars right up over here. So maybe it's possible to get this province. Now these guys got the land. You make them kill all of them. I've been known to kill people bombers and stuff. That's one of my specialties, is to take planes down. So yeah, I mean, this is where they're coming from right here. So that's where I would be going. But you got to give these guys credit. That's a good strategy they're using. All right. So till next time, guys, we'll keep you updated and let you know how this war is going. Okay. Till next time.